And just before we start, in case anybody's interested, the reason why I'm looking over there is because that's where the Facebook live feed is. So if there's any questions or anything going to come up, they're going to come up over there. And as people are joining, we've got a dozen people now, Celynn. As people are joining, it's coming up with the notification. So when I'm looking here, I'm looking at Celynn. When I'm looking over here, I'm just checking that the no questions coming up. So if everybody can hear both me and Celynn, let's get going. So it's wonderful, Celynn, that you could join us today at the beginning of a new year, in fact, a new decade. And as I said in the material where I shared the invite for this, we've been working together for, I think it's 3, probably even 4 years ago now. And I know that you've had an influence on a number of factors in my life around diet and all the other things that we might talk about today. But anyway, for those people that are being introduced to you for the first time today, can you just share a little bit, a brief background about who you are and how you found yourself to be in the position that you have?
Sure, thank you. And hello to everyone who's joined us. And it is exciting, a new year and what feels like a brand new decade. I am a health practitioner, a dietitian by background. And after doing clinical practice, I moved into workplace well-being. And that was about 16 years ago that I started doing that. And so now full-time, I run workshops for leadership teams, also their employees in the workplace around how to manage their health and well-being and not let stress get the better of us.
Brilliant. And that's not a UK accent that I can hear. Just in case anybody's wondering and trying to put a place on that accent, whereabouts in the world are you from, Celynn?
I was born in South Africa, but my parents and the rest of my family are French. And so my upbringing and the way that I approach lifestyle and health has been influenced both by South African way of life and the French way of life. That's important. I'm sure that'll come up as we chat about things.
Brilliant, excellent. And I've got 3 questions that have been submitted by people before the conversation. So I'm going to ask those 3 questions, and then if anybody else has got any other questions in the group as we go along, then please feel free to fire them off. We will be finishing at around 3:30, so a 1:30, because we've got various other different things that we need to go on. But anyway, let's start. So at the moment, there's lots of talk in the world around veganism and vegetarianism. I shared a post on both Facebook and LinkedIn around game changers. I've had a year off alcohol, and I'm planning to go for January without eating meat and be as vegan as possible. So the first question is around that. And there's lots of talk, obviously, that if you don't have meat, then you will be missing certain vitamins, certain attributes of your diet. And the question was around those supplements. So if I'm going to be vegan, Celynn, do I need to take any supplements in your opinion? And if so, what do those supplements need to be? Is there a specific brand, Holland and Barrett's, those sort of things? Is that good or bad, or where would you go?
Okay, so many good questions. So firstly, I want to commend you, Simon, and anybody else who gives their well-being enough consideration to actually try new things. Because most of the people that I come across, we end up getting stuck in a rut, and we don't even consider trying new things. So like you did, the no alcohol, now trying out no meat. Because you don't know what you don't know, right? So you never know what potentially it might be like to eat vegetarian for like a whole week unless you try. So I salute you for that.
Thank you.
When you do make big changes though, and it's a big change, when you're going to take a look at like leaving out whole food groups potentially, or really changing the way that you eat, I would always recommend that if you're going to do it, 1 month is okay. You're not going to get nutrient deficient. So in your case, I wouldn't say go and take a particular supplement. If, however, you realize, actually, I quite like this way of eating, I feel better, I would suggest that you speak to a dietitian or nutritionist. Because it is possible that if you don't eat the right combinations of foods, if you're vegetarian or especially if you're vegan, you could become deficient in things like B12, maybe iron, perhaps calcium, and maybe omega-3. So, but everybody's individual, and it does depend on what other medications you're using, what kind of foods you eat, because some people I call myself a part-time vegetarian. So that means that I might eat some dairy and cheese occasionally, but I prefer not to have too much meat. So yeah, I think upfront, I want to say if you're going to dramatically change your lifestyle and your diet, I would consider that you get personal advice rather than just listen to this chat and then go off into your pharmacy and buy whatever you think you need.
Okay.
And yeah, and then if you want to, I can elaborate more on the supplements.
Definitely. So what I took from that was if it's going to be a month, then it's not going to be that bad if you decide not to take any supplements. So you're not going to do that much damage in a month. But if I get to the end of the month, as I did with the alcohol, and then decide, okay, I'm going to carry it on for 2 or 3 or even for a lifetime, it's at that point where I should probably be sitting down with a nutritionist and having a proper conversation to make sure that my diet remains balanced and I get all the nutrients that I want.
Absolutely. Just like I know you appreciate with accounting and numbers, you wouldn't dramatically change your financial plan and not sit with somebody and say, actually, I think I'm going to stick to this kind of investment and this way of expenditure and get good advice. Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent. And then, yeah, supplements. I can imagine that there are good supplements and bad supplements, just the same as there are with lots of things in life. Are there ones that you recommend, or particular brands that you recommend that people use if they want to, or is anything and everything okay?
No, sadly, anything and everything isn't okay in this case because it's not a very regulated industry and there's a lot of discrepancy. I mean, you can pick up 3 different multivitamins off the same shelf, and if you just turn them around, you don't need to be a nutritionist to see how the values can really differ. So what I would recommend is that you perhaps start off with buying a supplement from a company that specializes in nutritional supplements, rather than maybe a company that's involved in a whole bunch of other things, maybe making medicines as well. So that's something I appreciate, because then their livelihood as a business is dependent on the quality of the products generally that they provide. And then there are some brands that are better than others. Now, I'm going to mention the 3 types of brands that I currently use. That's not to say that all other brands are bad, but I generally know that I can trust these brands. The one is Nutri Advanced UK. Then there's also Lambert's and Solgar, which generally has a gold label. So those 3 are good. And when we chat a bit later, I know that we're going to chat about gut health. Then I'll mention another probiotic.
Excellent. Thank you. So any other questions? Just turning just turning specifically then to general diet. If we're not doing vegan or vegetarianism, some people, or lots of people I know, go carb free, for example. Is carb free something that you would promote? What sort of, if you're just looking to general and maintain your diet, what sort of proportions would you have, meat and veg and carbs? Is there no carbs, or 10% carbs and 50% meat? How would you structure that, Celynn?
Well, I would structure that depending on what your objectives were. So, Simon, I know that you're generally office bound, you're moderately active. And so the kind of plan I would suggest to you might be slightly different if you were saying, Celynn, I actually want to do an Ironman in the next 6 months.
Right.
Okay. So, but generally, what we see from global studies, if we look at populations of people that are living long, healthy lives, I mean, that's a good place to start. So you look at populations like the Sardinians or the Costa Ricans or in the Mediterranean area or the Okinawans in Japan, where we see people reaching 100, maybe even 110, and they don't have Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, diabetes, heart disease. So they're doing something right. And when we look at their diet, some of the common trends we're seeing is they're mostly plant-based. They're not totally vegan. Interesting. So in Japan, you'd have a high consumption of fish. The Mediterraneans would have a little bit of cured meat. But in terms of meat and animal products, it's a much smaller percentage than what we tend to eat. So, meat might appear 2 or 3 servings a week, not 1 serving a day.
Right. 3 or 4 times every day, depending.
Yeah. And there's always a lot of plant-based food, so lots of color. And that's what I love about trying to go vegetarian or trying veganery, for a month, is it's going to force you to experiment with vegetables that maybe you've never thought about trying.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say the Mediterranean diet seems to be good for most of us. However, you can also do tests like nutrigenomic testing. So those are tests where you can look at your own DNA. And you can then see exactly, well, what kind of foods are good for you, what kind of supplements. So for instance, I've done 23andMe is a company that does these tests, and another one is called DNA Life. I think it's about 150 or 160 pounds for a test. And that can give you more specific personalized advice.
Brilliant. So that was called genomic testing?
Nutrigenomic testing.
Nutrigenomic testing. And that is that a blood sample or a saliva sample?
It's saliva, because it's any part of your DNA. And then, so for instance, based on my DNA results, which I did with 2 independent companies with 5 years in between, and the results were exactly the same, I need a much higher dose of B12 and I need more magnesium than the average person. And so I've experimented. When I don't take those supplements, I end up with muscle spasms and cramps in my legs, and I get anemia, a special anemia called megaloblastic anemia.
Okay.
And so if I have to take the B12 and the magnesium, even if I try and eat foods that contain those, I have a deficiency. And my genetic test validated that.
Brilliant. And the one you mentioned, 23andMe, which is the one that I chose to do off the back of one of your presentations. And the good news for me was that it came back that I was predisposed to process alcohol better than average, and I was more likely to be overweight. So having read the report, that was the two things. It gave me permission to eat more and drink more at the time. But it was a fascinating read. I've just got, does Celynn have any particular advice for vitamins for joints, specifically for joint and joint pain?
Yeah. Joint pain is usually a result of inflammation. So we need to reduce the inflammation. That means to start off with eating anti-inflammatory foods. The best place to do that is lots of green leafy vegetables and really as much color in your diet. I know, Simon, you know that I speak about eating like an artist.
Yes.
So if you can, half of most of your meals should be plant-based with lots of color. So naturally, you're getting more antioxidants, which reduce that process of inflammation. Then in terms of supplements, omega-3 seems to be a very good one for especially arthritic type of inflammation or perhaps some other joint pain. Then once again, if you are looking at a supplement that gives you omega-3, you need to purchase one or use one that only has omega-3, not omega-6 and 9. And perhaps I can explain that. And the omega-3, the active components are called EPA and DHA. Those are abbreviations for very, very long words. Eicosapentaenoic acid, for instance, EPA and DHA. And you need about 500 milligrams of those active ingredients per capsule. And then you know it's probably a good omega-3.
Okay, brilliant.
And
So
then another supplement that could help with joint pain, if it's related to, I think, cartilage breakdown, would be glucosamine. So it does depend on where the joint pain is coming from, but generally omega-3 is a very good anti-inflammatory agent. So I would take that as a supplement, or eat more fatty fish, sardines, herring, salmon, mackerel. But of course, if you're going to go vegan, then the fish wouldn't be an option.
No. So basically increase the omega-3. And what was the two, I'm going to say chemicals, but nutrients that needs to be part of that in order to help process that for the body?
The EPA and DHA.
EPA and DHA.
And if you're choosing to be vegan, you might not want to take a fish-based omega-3, in which case you can get a plant-based one. And the active ingredient in that would be GLA. And also things like flax seeds and linseeds would give you some of those ingredients, and walnuts.
Excellent, thank you. And it's funny you should mention flax seeds, because flax seeds has come up. Do you have to? It's a pretty specific question, but do you have to process the flax seeds, or can you just sprinkle do you have to grind them in order to activate them?
Good question. It depends what you want the purpose for. If you want to access the oils, I would recommend you. So I ground and I use whole because I like the texture of the whole linseeds.
Okay.
So in the mornings, I grind a mixture of seeds, and then I sometimes add a few of the whole seeds just because it adds a nice texture. So I would do a bit of both. If you are going to grind them, say in a coffee grinder or your NutriBullets, is don't grind lots in advance because the oils they get damaged when they get exposed to oxygen. So try and grind per day or just one day ahead.
Excellent, brilliant. Thank you. Let's move the conversation on. We're at 1:15. So the next question is around probiotics. And the question is simply, what are they and why do people take them?
Probiotics are really important because our digestive system, and especially the lower part of the digestive system, the colon, the more we begin to understand because of the research that is now being done in this field, the more we appreciate how crucial it is to sustaining high immunity and helping us balance our brain chemistry. However, and to do that, part of the gut health is the fact that we have bacteria that live in our digestive system, and without them, we wouldn't be able to survive. So they have to be there. However, many of us have an imbalance in our bacteria because we've taken antibiotics at some point in our life. We've maybe been exposed to antibiotics through regular meat, perhaps even water. because there's some research to show that foods and water can contain antibiotics. We may take painkillers. We may have a bad diet that's high in wheat and sugar. And so we may need to then rectify the balance. And taking a probiotic means that you're putting in, probio means pro-life. You're putting in bacteria that goes into your gut and can help build up your immune system and your gut health.
Excellent. So what's the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic?
Prebiotics are what probiotics like to eat. So the prebiotic feeds the probiotic.
Okay, so basically the prebiotic is probiotic food. So do
Yes.
I need to take both then? Do I need to feed the probiotic, or can the probiotic sort of survive on its own without being fed, for want of a better phrase?
That's a good question. I would always take the probiotic first. So you want to re-inoculate and put back some good bacteria. And then if you're eating a proper diet and you're watching stress and you're eating lots of plant-based foods and you're not taking antibiotics, you may not need a prebiotic. I don't take a prebiotic. However, I eat foods that contain prebiotics. So things like garlic, chicory, bananas, leeks. There are two groups of vegetables that are really important that many of us are not eating enough of. The one is called cruciferous vegetables and the other one is called allium vegetables.
Okay, yeah.
So cruciferous vegetables are things like cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and then the alliums are your leeks, your onions, your garlic. So if you eat those foods, then you don't need to take prebiotics. I wouldn't take a prebiotic myself. However, someone who I know who's on the road, who's stressed, who drinks a lot of coffee, who doesn't eat that well, I would say take the probiotic and then maybe take a prebiotic if you know that you're not going to eat enough plant-based foods.
Okay, so how would you know then? Because I know when we first talked about probiotics, it was a brand new experience for me. Obviously, I'd seen Actimel and stuff like that on the television, and take your yogurt. They're not the right way to take probiotics. Just for
I would
people
generally
watching.
recommend that you rather take a concentrated probiotic in a liquid or a pill form. Once again, some brands that I've used are the Lambert's one, NutriAdvanced UK, and there's also a liquid one called Simprov.
Simprov. Okay, well, I'd take the NutriAdvanced one off the back of your conversation many moons ago, but I'd never really. So I think when we spoke about it, you said take the probiotic, and it would then be the prebiotic that you went on to if you wanted to.
Yes, or you could make an effort to eat those foods.
Yeah. So okay, excellent, brilliant. So. What's your opinion on intermittent fasting, Celynn? And then we'll come back to the probiotic as well, because I've got one more question on that, but it's just come up in the forum. So what's your opinion on intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting is something that I do myself, and it works well. So the idea is that you have a 16-hour break between your last meal the night before and your meal the next day, and you eat. You reduce your calorie intake on your fasting day to about a quarter of the usual amount that you eat. So basically that means eating more plant-based foods and lighter, and avoiding concentrated foods that might contain extra calories. The science behind intermittent fasting is that it helps reduce inflammation and oxidation. It also gives your digestive system a break. And of course, and you don't need to do it every day. Michael Mosley, who's a well-known doctor who's written a book on this topic, suggests that you only do it 2 days a week, and ideally not 2 back-to-back days. So you might do it on a Monday and a Thursday. In my experience though, if you are an emotional eater, so somebody who feels perhaps emotional, if you know that you're not going to have access to food, or you might binge before or after your fast, then don't do it immediately at 16 hours. I would work with a nutritionist or a dietitian and maybe extend your breakfast to 1 hour later than usual and see how you feel. And then later, do you know what I mean? So like, don't go from doing 0 to hero, because you might not enjoy the experience. And then even though it could have actually been good for you, you end up deciding not to do it. And be conscious of how it impacts your blood glucose levels, because some people are sensitive to missing meals and they might have low blood sugar. Like I have quite low blood pressure. So if I haven't slept well the night before, I've noticed that I struggle with intermittent fasting the next day. Whereas if I'm well rested and well resourced, I did it today. I had my first meal much later than usual and I felt great.
Excellent. So just to repeat that back, because so intermittent fasting is every day, 16 hours in between meals. So 16 hours free of food and 8 hours eating. and then 2 days with a low calorie intake as well.
No, thank you
No.
for taking that back. It's only 2 days in the week where you do the intermittent fasting.
All right. So 5 days a week you eat normally. So you can eat breakfast at 6 o'clock and your tea at 10 o'clock. I know you don't recommend that, but you could do that. And then on 2 days a week that are not together, you restrict your food intake for between 8 hours.
Yeah, or perhaps even to 6 hours. And I know there's some people, I haven't personally done that a lot, but I know quite a few people who are doing that. And if you find it easy, then maybe do it more than 2 days in the week. But I think what's also important is to consider your lifestyle and your family. So you don't want to create more stress. Our lives are so full of stress. We need to try and reduce stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. And, if we become too fanatical and too extreme around the way that we eat, it can cause stress. Because now we're not going to eat out. Friends don't want to invite us over because they have no idea what to feed us. And then part of living a long, healthy life is having good relationships and social connection and love and belonging. So I think there's a balance between being healthy and also being balanced and human. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because it's very easy to get sucked into being perfect and living longer, but being miserable for a lot longer, as opposed to enjoying life as you go along. And I know when we've spoken about alcohol or lack of alcohol, you're very much in the camp of drinking in moderation and enjoying it, being conscious of that drink, rather than just ruling it out or going over the top. And those words resonated with me, and still sort of sits on my shoulder when I think about that conversation. So excellent, brilliant, thank you. And I know when you've presented at my events previously, that's the one thing that people say at the end, that Celynn is a realist. She's not fanatical. She's not extreme and banning things. She talks in a way that enables people to live and enjoy life, but be a little bit more, what should I say? What's the word that people use? Conscious about what it is that they're doing, the decisions that they're making. Brilliant. So just to get back on that prebiotics and the probiotics, could you share, obviously people would think you're taking something that helps the gut. Can you share just quickly some of the results that you've had that people might not expect of people improving or taking probiotics and then therefore improving their gut health?
When you improve your gut health, you improve almost everything in your body, because a vast amount of your immune system is connected to your gut. And so my mother, for instance, manages a genetic skin condition very well by looking after her gut. My brother recently, also with his digestive health, has lost 3 stone, and he doesn't crave sugar anymore. He used to eat a tub of ice cream most nights of the week. And since he's balanced his gut bacteria, those cravings have gone. I know some people have reported better sleep. The research isn't clear on how that works, but some people sleep better because of it. I know that I don't get as sick that easily. I mean, I wasn't sick last year. It might be more than just the fact that I take a good probiotic and look after my gut health, but we know that.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things, I don't know whether you remember, but at one of the events, you asked if anybody was taking a probiotic, and I stuck my hand up, and you said, what difference has it made? And I had to sit there and think about it. And at the time, I couldn't think of anything that had changed. And then you asked, can you remember if you've been ill during the year? And it wasn't until that point when you asked me, I thought, no, I haven't. I've not had. I get the occasional sniffle, but over Christmas, before Christmas, Sally, Ben and Amy were all sniffling and going in for it. And I didn't pick up on it. I certainly didn't pick up on it as much as what they did. So it's an interesting perspective as to what it helps you achieve, but then what you miss or don't miss, if you like, by taking it. So that probiotic question just moves on then to the prebiotic, and the last question around sleep. And somebody recommended to me before Christmas taking a prebiotic called Bimino in order to help them sleep. In fact, their wife was taking it, and I don't know whether it was the bedtime conversation or whatever, but anyway, because she was taking it, she was going fast to sleep and she was having the best night's sleep ever. So could you just share with us, Celynn, sort of 1, 2, or 3 tips on how you could improve or get a better night's sleep, and whether this supplement, in your opinion, Bimino, if you have an opinion, is a good or a bad thing?
So from what I saw when I looked into the supplement, I wouldn't recommend it specifically for sleep.
Okay.
It's a probiotic prebiotic combination. that seems to help the gut bacteria. So it's not one that I've personally used or tried. But yeah, I wouldn't say specifically for sleep, but it will probably help your gut health.
I was just wondering whether, because you just said a minute ago about your gut health and improving a prebiotic will potentially help you sleep, whether there's some sort of connection there that they've discovered on an internet site or something that...
The way it could work is because the gut is involved in manufacturing brain neurotransmitters like serotonin. And serotonin is part of helping us not only feel a sense of happiness or ease, but also being able to rest. So the link could be there. But the science is quite new in that. So I think before we know exactly how it works, I'm just delighted that, you know, whether it's the placebo effect or not for that lady that you mentioned, we all need good sleep. The one thing that seems to be, there's lots of sleep hacks, and I've written about it on my blog, and I've done videos, and I'd be happy to answer any questions specifically about sleep. The one thing that seems to be the most important is to have a routine to relax before you go to sleep. So at least 1 hour before, you want to put your head on the pillow and close your eyes and go off to dreamland, which is really important. Dreaming is a very important part of being well. Is you need to be off your digital devices. So no WhatsApp, and you can't be watching this interview at 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And ideally no laptops and no email. And maybe do something like read a book, have a cup of tea, listen to some music, take a bath, allow yourself permission to wind down, because we're so switched on and switched up all the time that we don't give ourselves permission to rest. And that's why it's hard for the body to just fall asleep sometimes. So relaxing before you go to bed, just like we do with a child. You know, we sing them a lullaby, well, we'll put them in the bath. We generally do it at the same time of day. We've got the same pattern, and then we sing them a lullaby, and then they go to sleep. We need to do the same with ourselves. Maybe even sing yourself a lullaby. I don't know.
No, I've never thought about it like that.
I've got a friend that actually has 1 or 2 music tracks that he listens to every night. And now his brain is programmed that when it hears the music, he feels like he can instantly fall asleep.
It's like an auditory anchor. I've got
it.
And what about watching television? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That is, the screens in general is a no-no.
The screens in general is a no-no, and also what you're exposed to. So if you're watching an action movie, it could actually stimulate your adrenal glands. Perhaps if you're watching the news, goodness knows, I wouldn't be doing that before you want to go to sleep. However, there are some people who say they fall asleep in front of the TV. My question to them is, maybe you're so exhausted, and the point is that you're sitting still, and that's why you fall asleep. It's not the TV.
Oh, right. Okay.
So a lot of the sleep experts agree, no TVs in the bedroom. Ideally, no digital devices, and we need to be able to be still and relax without stimulus.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. I've just got a couple more that's come up on the Facebook. One says, how do you end up looking as handsome as Simon? Which I'm actually...
question of the year.
That's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm going to sell that as a service. It might be the placebo, but I drink lemon and ginger tea. This helps me go to sleep. Is there any science that you know about lemon and ginger, or is it? I drink lemon and ginger, funnily enough, in the morning to help me wake up. So
I do that in the morning too. I find it quite zesty. That's a really good drink. Well done to whoever that is. And also having something warm to drink at night that is caffeine free can be quite soothing, and it become just like that music for that guy I spoke about. It can become a trigger to help you relax.
And away you go. So we've got 2 minutes. I'll throw a curveball at you, Celynn, just to do. So I get lots of conversations. Obviously, at this time of year, lots of people are busy. They're going to change the world. They've got all these things to do and all these things going on, and it's very easy for people to get overwhelmed. If there was one thing that somebody can do if they're feeling overwhelmed or under stress or under pressure, what would that one thing be, Celynn?
Breathe deeply and often, especially your exhale. So breathe deeply and often and lengthen your exhale. There's a lot of science to explain why that's good for you. It's one of the best things you can do is breathe more consciously and deeply. It helps reduce the stress response and that feeling of overwhelm.
Excellent. So breathe in deeply and then exhale longer than you breathe in for.
Exhale longer than you breathe in for. Yeah. And do that as often as you can in the day.
Be conscious of that breath.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. So finally, we are 1 minute to go. If anybody wants to find out more, so on the 26th of February, you're with my groups again. So
Yeah.
if anybody watching this video wants to come and see Celynn live and you're an accountant in practice with one or more team member, then you are more than welcome to come along and test drive the group on the 26th of February. If you can't make that date for whatever reason and somebody wants to find out more about you, Celynn, have another conversation with you, I know you're delighted to share as much information and help people as much as possible. What way's best for them to find out more about you?
On my website, because I'm also going to be launching this year a free once a month wellbeing Q&A and champagne chats for those of us that want to understand how celebration, not so you can join with sparkling water, Simon, you don't need champagne, but how celebration is important for well-being. So my website is the best place. Are you able to put it into the Facebook group because of the spelling of
definitely, yeah, I can put it. I'll put it in the comments at the bottom of the Facebook group feed.
CelynnMorin.com.
Yeah, so everybody can get access to that. And just to point out, because I know this is something that I find useful, and lots of other people that you've worked with or been a part of my group have found useful. Do you still do the Friday recipes where people can go in and get?
I do. That's Celynn's Friday Foodie Recipes, quick and easy. And I generally use a nutrigenomic food. So one of those vegetables I spoke about, and make
excellent.
it easy. And I also once or twice a month will send out a well-being interview, like the one that you and I did, is going to go out in a week's time.
Excellent.
And interesting insights on well-being, so we can, help each other, champion each other, so that we stay well.
Brilliant. And that Friday foodie recipe, is that on your CelynnMorin.com as well?
Yes, you can go to sign up for that.
Brilliant.
And
excellent.
most of them are vegetarian, so some of them might be good for you too.
Excellent, thank you. So if you let me have that, then I'll make sure that goes in the Facebook group on the comments so people can see it. So just check, make doubly sure there's no more questions coming first. No, brilliant. And well, 1 minute late, which I'll allow, I think. Just say thank you very much, Celynn, for joining us. I've learned something, especially around that flaxseed question, because we've got a jar of flax seeds at home, so I should be implementing that. And the same with that Bimino conversation as to whether I go off in it, but it's brilliant. So thank you very much for joining us, Celynn, and it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to working with you again at the end of February.
Me too. Bye.